writing, and I haven't been waiting for a response. I've actually been waiting for validation, you know? I've been waiting for somebody to say, you know, you've got great writing capability, what you've got to offer is brilliant, you matter, your story matters, your journey matters, these other women's stories who were within this book, their stories matter.
Drive. So what I started to do, I started to just like buy and sell domain names when the internet was like literally you had to plug it into your wall. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's so easy because you're chasing this dream and this vision that you have, and to feel as though you need to be working all hours of the day. And yes, there are some days where you need to push yourself that little bit harder, but you really need, if you haven't got your health and your well-being, you haven't got any business.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, where I interview phenomenal women in business at all stages of their entrepreneurial journey. So I interview startups and I also interview seasoned entrepreneurs. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you stop and click that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And if you're listening to the podcast, please make sure that you press that follow button. And if you are interested in being interviewed for Female Entrepreneur Stories, drop me an email at daniela@she'sthebossintl.com. But today I'm really excited because I have my first interview participant from the United States of America. So I've traveled around. I've interviewed people from Canada, Bali, a few other places, but you're actually my first American participant. So thank you so much, J'Que Ellis, for joining me today. And I'm not going to even try to introduce who you are because I think that you're going to be able to do a much better job than me. And you wear so many different hats that I wouldn't be able to remember all of them. So let us know, what do you do?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Man, I do a lot. I'll just, I'm a serial entrepreneur, which means I dive into different business ventures and entrepreneurial, endeavors. And I own a gym. I'm also a fitness enthusiast. And I'm a daughter of the King. Jesus is my daddy. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm a mom, a daughter, a sister, all of those things.
And I just love your enthusiasm generally for life. And I'm going to touch on some of those roles throughout this interview. But the first one, you are a fitness trainer, personal trainer, and you have your own fitness center. Tell us about the journey from work into then stepping out and starting on this journey of having your own fitness center.
Wow. You know what? It's funny you asked that because I've been in fitness for a long amount of years, probably for 17, actually going on my 20th year. But I've just recently, in the last 7 years, owned an actual fitness facility. And the biggest transition, or the biggest thing from being a facility owner and a fitness business owner, was major for me. I always knew I wanted to own a facility, but the fear of not being able to make it was always the reason why I would never step out. And it was not necessarily a job that why I stepped out, or I planned it, or any of that. I stepped out because God pushed me out. It was literally a push. I could not go to a job. I had been released from a job that I worked for 12 years. I was going through cancer at the time, and nobody would even give me a job. I had no choice but to do what I was afraid to do 12 years ago when I first wanted to get a center. And that's how fitness defied the building, the brick and mortar, the actual building, my gym, the facility of a business facility started. And that part of my entrepreneurial journey has been good, bad, ugly, sad. But with all of that, the best part about it is I did it for myself and not just for somebody else. And so doing that helped me have more resources and opportunities to help people just like I was, which is what my love has always been.
So you said that you were dealing with cancer at the time. How, like, that is, I can only assume that that would have been a very, very stressful, scary, traumatic situation. And there's not many people that would take a situation like that and say, actually, now I'm going to branch out and go on my own. Like, what was the, obviously the main inspiration was you saying you're not being able to find another employer and employment, but where did that kind of inner strength and resolve come to make you think, actually, now I can do this when everything else was going on?
I didn't really know that I could do it, to be honest with you. I stepped out on faith, and in stepping out on faith, God showed me that working for that company, all those skills I had given them for 12 years, turn around and use it on your same thing. And so I began to like link up or try to get around or be in circles where people who had done that same type of thing in their life were successful at it, and find out what type of characteristics they had. What did they actually do when they didn't have money to get a new floor in a facility that you're getting into, and maybe you need a new floor? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I really didn't, but I knew that I had to do something. And being forced sometime into talents and gifts that you don't even know you have. What? I mean, I've always had the talent of organization and structure and multi-talented, being able to multitask, be able to get groups and projects and people together to get tasks done. You know, all of those kind of things I've been very, very good at, but I was always working for someone else doing those tasks. And so learning that I could do those same things for my own self, and then instead of them getting the benefit, I'm going to get the benefit of what I'm doing for myself. Oh my God, it just kind of snapped in my head. This is a win-win.
Right. Had you ever thought that that was going to be the route that you took, or was it just in that moment, actually, now I have to do it? So you weren't one of those people that as a child, as a teenager, that said, I'm going to work for myself, I'm going to have my own facility one day? No. Okay.
No. Those were not my hopes and dreams growing up. I wanted to be a fairy gypsy lady traveling the world and, digging potholes and climbing up mountains and dune buggying my whole life. That's really what my hopes and dreams were. I mean, I went to school to try to be a nurse so I can make money, thinking that nursing was something totally different than what it was. What? And so then it was like, okay, I found out through that process that, okay, what I really want to do is help people. You know, I want to help them love themselves is really what I figured out what I want to do, but I didn't even love my own self. So in the process of God allowing me to learn how to love my own self, I picked up so many resources, and he showed me so many different things, but I wasn't using them for my own benefit. I was taking those skills and those situations that he had shown me, and I was using it for somebody else, not for myself. So I mean, you go through the process of, maybe there are some people that when they're young, they know they just want to be their entrepreneur and they're going to have, this business and that business, but that was not me. I'm an entrepreneur because I discovered the skills that I had could benefit me.
Yeah. And that's something, right? I think a lot of the time people are in work and they are used to the kind of safety of being in a job and think that that's the only way that they can make money, not necessarily realizing or understanding all the skills, the tools, the experiences that they've had in the workplace are those that can be sold directly to the customer, which then therefore means the money goes directly into your pocket.
Exactly. It's just like investing in the stock. Instead of using somebody else's stock, I'm the Wall Street, and I'm the investors, and I'm the people, I'm the broker. I'm all of those.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
So speaking of kind of the more technical aspect, you found the facility. How did you market yourself? How did you market the facility? What was the process there? And also, what was the greatest lesson you learned during that process?
To be honest with you, I started marketing just on the platform that I had. Because I had been in fitness for so long already, I was connected in circles and arenas of people and resources that I had already had. Again, not realizing that I was going to be able to use them in this way. They were really just my friends in the fitness business. You know, I've been in it 10 years. I worked for Nike. I had been in conferences all over the world, and I'm a connector. So when I'm out there, I'm definitely going to connect with somebody, even if it's the same people that I know over and over and again. And I love hearing about where they are. So then they become connected to me, but never in a million years that I would be able to think that I would be able to use those connections to propel myself. So when it came down to, you know, opening the business, I talked to the lady that my angel, actually God sent me my angel, and I got the business open. I knew I had to do marketing because that was always my big specialty that I did in the fitness industry, was helping with marketing campaigns, project management, making sure the consumer was aware of what was going on, making sure that our audience gave enough awareness to them. So all of those things I was already doing for the other companies that I was working for. I just knew the fitness part of it. And so I just called them. Went through my little phone, and I said, hey, listen, I opened up my business. If you had to tell me one thing that you would do with marketing dollars, I have a $500 budget. I called 7 of them. I put those 7 things down on my list, and I picked it out of my budget, what to do and what to do. And like every 2 or 3 months, I would just call into my friends and say, hey, my next biggest question is this. And so I had a network of people that I could call, not that I was asking them to do anything for me, but maybe share little bits of advice on the major things and focusing on that one piece of marketing that would propel me to the next level. A lot of times, and I was guilty of this with the very, very first business I ever started, of trying to do too much at one time as entrepreneurs. And in the marketing arena, we really feel like that is something we have to do. Versus if we focus on being great in one market or spending our dollars on the market that's going to give us the most return. And return is not always calculated in dollars either. And that's another thing, you know, first time entrepreneurs, people even now who have been in the business, entrepreneurs for a long time. My consultant tells me all the time, JQ, we need to level up on this marketing. This didn't work this time. Let's do something different. You know, and I'm a favorite of Instagram. I'm an Instagram girl. So I always want Instagram to win, but it doesn't always win. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so your marketing is where you're going to get the most for your dollar to generate and create gravity, vibration towards your dollars. It is not going to be guaranteed. And that's what you're really trying to create anyway.
So one of the kind of key things that I take out of that whole explanation is the power of the network. Now, a lot of the kind of startup entrepreneurs that I come into contact with spend a lot of time just at their computer working. And actually, sometimes it's more beneficial to go out and meet people, to call and take somebody out for a coffee or for lunch, to pick their brains as you did with the network that you already had. What kind of recommendations would you give for somebody that isn't necessarily as natural to the whole kind of networking environment, who doesn't necessarily have a network around them? How would you tell them to go about building that network?
So first, I have a disclaimer. I am not really good at networking, and I'm being very honest. I am really not good at networking. These type of platforms are my platform. I'm a real digital chick, big time. But 4 years ago, when I was going through my questions, I had gone to a conference, career development conference. And one of the things that I learned from that conference is you always have to stay relevant. Relevant in all aspects. So for me, I knew I was lacking in the networking face to face. And that's where you build relationships. And as a startup, that's probably one of the most important things that you can do is build a network and build network relationships. Again, network relationships. And so my PR at the time said, listen, you got to get out more. So I was like, okay, 1 year I dedicated to doing nothing but going to events. And I went to like 100 events that year just to network, talk to people, get to know what their Facebook page, I'm talking to them on the Facebook, but I don't know really what they do or who they look like. You understand what I'm saying? Infiltrating myself into the community or the audience of the people that I even want to connect with. So they will go to my social media. So they will go to my website. So they will be able to connect to, oh, that is JQ when my commercial runs across the screen. So you still have to create that relationship so they can connect to whatever the information is that you want to put out there, whatever you want to market them to. Otherwise, you're just another person going by the visual, or you're just another podcast scrolling through. But if you scroll past my podcast and you saw me at this gala for some children, you'd be like, oh, that was that girl at the gala.
Yeah.
My dad owns a bank. I remember her saying something about she needed some scholarships. This must be the event. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then boom, you have a marketing need, or you have any kind of resource need that you have to that is going to be beneficial for you in your marketing area, especially. So create networks, which means, yes, you have to get out and do it. If that means schedule it, put it on your schedule and hold yourself accountable. That's one of my biggest feedbacks for an entrepreneur. Hold yourself accountable for what you said you were going to do.
Yes. Now, it's interesting that you said you're not naturally a networker. Neither am I. And I just did a post and talking about accountability. I just did a post a few days ago, I think it was, saying that this year I've committed to doing events, to going to events, and kind of this fearless pursuit of experiences, because I am that person that will just hide behind the computer. And whilst I'm here working with clients and I'm getting results, I'm not going out and meeting people and letting people know that I'm even here and I exist. And for people that are not necessarily naturally that way inclined, I think sometimes we can sit and think, oh, everybody loves networking and people are out there doing it. But actually, the more people I speak to, the more I realize a lot more people do it as a necessity as opposed to because they enjoy it. And I think there is this kind of misconception that most people enjoy it, and actually most people don't. And I think what you said about that kind of reinforcing, so they saw you there, and then when it comes up on the screen, now they remember you. I think that is such an important point that a lot of people don't necessarily connect. It's like, well, I don't really want to go out, and I am that person, but I'm forcing myself out and putting it out there publicly. As you said, it holds you to account. If I've said publicly now that this year I'm going to as many events as I can, and people are inviting me to events and I'm not going, then clearly it means that I'm not practicing what I preach. So I definitely agree with you there.
You know, I have an accountability tool. I just want to plug right there. So simple. Here's something that I use, and it may be vain or it may be not vain, but it is a tool that I actually use. Okay, because I'm such a marketer, I'm such a social media journalist person, I'm involved with media so much. Media is a place that's easy for me. So I use media also as a place of accountability. Say, for instance, I'm doing a challenge, and the challenge is probably for me. I'm putting it out there on social media. And the reason why I do that for myself is because if I put it out there, I know I'm going to accomplish it because I hold myself accountable for being a woman of my word. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I post a lot for that main reason. A lot of times those things I'm saying is because I know I'm going to go back and look at my phone. Oh my God, I forgot I said I was going to do that.
And I have to because it's there. There's evidence people can see.
Once it's out there, there's no drawing it back. I don't care if you never got a like on it. The social media people hold it down in the archives forever.
Well, yes, as we know, people keep throwing things back out in the past. And this is why I do it. I do in October last year, I didn't like doing Instagram lives. So in October last year, I committed publicly to a Instagram live challenge, and every day in October, pretty much.
Yep.
I did an Instagram live because I know that it's something I need to do, and I felt uncomfortable with it, so I publicly said I'm going to do it and forced myself to do it. And now I feel a little bit more comfortable doing it.
Yes, of course. You got to be pushed out of your comfort zones in order to get better or to move forward, anything, because really the only thing that holds us back is our comfort zones. So if we can push past them, man, we're just on to the next level, honey. And I'm always about going up.
I love it.
I don't want to go nowhere but up.
Well, yeah, this is my goal for 2020, leveling up significantly. So you alluded to the point before that you do a lot in the media, and from my kind of research, I see that you're about to launch the Fit Black Queens podcast with another group of personal trainers and fitness instructors, and also you do a radio show. So how did you get into kind of the media side of things, and how does that impact or complement what you're doing on the kind of more entrepreneurial side?
I really got into media as an introvert. Mm-hmm. It was one of the things I could do. I didn't have to be around people. I did my first radio show a long time ago with Bliss FM, the Cellar Wine Show, and Richard and I had met at an event and hooked up. And again, through conversation and relationships, boom, he needed somebody to speak about health, and I was a wine lover. We were at a wine event together. And so, boom, he asked me to do it, and it turned into 6 years of radio, which was perfect for me because, again, I was an introvert, and probably very few people knew that I was that person, like what I looked like. They knew my voice. We were syndicated in 166 countries, but I didn't have to be around some people. Mm-hmm. I could be at home and, this, that, and the other. I did this all the time, call-ins, radio-ins. We did this all the time for the show. And so, but I loved being able to communicate and engage with people. I've always been that way. And when it came time for me to work in the community here, people knew me from media. I'd done productions, TV shows, and all that kind of stuff. And radio was on my bucket list. So my PR, there was an opportunity at WLRH, which is the local radio station here, to they were starting up a new project for a community newsroom. And I was like, oh, God, I don't know. It's my hometown. Okay, I'll do it. And so I went over there thinking, again, I was just going to be, behind the scenes. Nobody really had to know. I was just going to be in the booth, doing all the production stuff and all that, which is what I love to do. And that was just not where it ended up happening. I ended up loving the production side of it as well, but also learning that I had a platform where I could share something else about other people that was amazing. And then, I love my city. Huntsville is an amazing city. We are number 11 on the best cities to live in on the Forbes list right now. And there are so many great things happening. So I'm excited about that. But to be able to have a platform like radio and media in my own city, especially, I focus on the local actual music community scene that we have here in Huntsville. And it's amazing. It's amazing, the culture that we have here. We now have the very first music advisory board. Mm-hmm. What? Mm-hmm. Like, this is amazing, amazing. And our podcast, Valley Sounds, is, part of who help control what's happening in the music scene. I love being in the media because it gives me a place to share my voice, and I don't have to worry so much about people liking it, because with media, you're just speaking your voice. It doesn't even have to be somebody that likes it or not likes it, but it's a way for you to connect with people and for you to share how you feel, or allow you to share in the moment with what's happening and be a contribution. Feel like you're doing a contribution. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people don't feel like they have a specific worth in what they may be doing. And the platforms like radio, media, outlets, digital, all of those things now are just, they're on unleveled platforms of how people can feel confident, start businesses, put themselves out there. So many things that you can do with it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's one of the reasons why I started doing this. And also, interestingly, I have a background in radio. And I think one of the reasons that I enjoyed it was kind of for the same reasons as you, really. I liked the fact that I could speak and communicate and share, but without having to worry about what I look like, whether people were judging me, because it's just my voice, right? Nobody can really judge that. But actually now doing it this way, it's really helped me build my confidence of having my face in front of the screen and not hiding behind it.
Yes.
So how important is it for you to have lots of different things going on at once? Because there's kind of two sides of this argument. One side, which is the side that I kind of sit on, is there's many different avenues that can fuel your spirit. And it's important for your spirit to be fueled at all times. Therefore, I have a kind of what you would say a portfolio career, and I think you do too. But then there is also the other side of the argument that you should pick something and focus on that. How important is it for you to have a variety of different things going on simultaneously? And how do you balance it? That's the other thing.
Well, here is the number one importance of why I have so many things going on simultaneously, because I am a believer of multiple streams of income because I like income. Now, that's a nice way to say it. And again, over my portfolio of a career, I have learned that all my skills and talents, all the blessings that I have can be returns for me. Mm-hmm. And so I try to maximize on that. Mm-hmm. The second part of your question is, how do I manage that? How I manage it is I have created a brand or a platform, whatever you want to put it for yourself is, and it is my business. The blessing is I've learned how to monetize my passions. Mm-hmm. That's what I choose to do. And sometimes I can't. There are things that I would love to make money doing, and I probably have tried, but they weren't a success for me because I enjoy having a comfortable financial life and being able to do the things I want to do. I don't want to be rich. I want to have a lot of wealth and experiences. So I maximize my finances in order for me to be able to have those things and to be able to help the people so they can ride with me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm a smart chick. I want to make money, and I want to make money doing the things I enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I keep doing them. I fail, I get up, I fail, I get up, I fail, I get up. I keep on trying until I find those things that in that moment are, oh, yeah, that's right. This way, this is the dollars right now, because it doesn't stay the same. Even when you own one business, there are aspects of the business that are going to go up and down and up and down. And so you also have to learn to ride the wave. The wave is things that you did not create, do, or know anything about. Mm-hmm. Blessings that happen to you from God. Out of the blue, I get a call from Oprah Winfrey. Oh my God, who would ever imagine that I would have that, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when it comes, you also have to be ready to ride the wave. Mm-hmm. And as an entrepreneur, that's one of the things that sometimes I feel like I missed the boat early on. I learn about that now. But again, you also have to be able to, wherever you are in that moment of your journey, you have to be able to make the best of it.
So what I want to do now is talk a little bit about fitness and health and nutrition. So a lot of entrepreneurs go, don't necessarily make time to look after themselves. What kind of tips and advice would you give as someone that specializes in fitness, but also someone who is on the go quite often? What tips and advice would you give about looking after self?
The first tip I would have for looking after self is do not compromise. Just like you have a meeting with your boss, or you have a meeting on a call with someone about a contract, and no matter where you are, you're going to make that happen. If you have to call them from your phone, from a pay phone, from Nimbuk2 phone, get them on the internet, get them in Facebook, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do that for them, do that for yourself every time it comes to your health and wellness, whatever that level is for you. And stick to it. Don't compromise yourself. That's the number one rule I tell, or I try to coach the entrepreneurs that I work with, especially. Do not compromise yourself. If you put on your schedule that you're going to work out 2 days a week and you're going to do it from 8 to 9 o'clock, if you're in the airport, I'm not saying doing it then, but me, I would walk around the airport, even if I'm walking slowly. I wouldn't necessarily, I might do jumping jacks or burpees. I would, because I was on a burpee challenge in an airport once. But
as you do.
I did it. And every one, I even had people who joined me that knew who I was from Instagram. It was so amazing. They were like, "Oh, you're the girl doing the burpee challenge." I was like, yes. So we were in the airport doing burpees, honey. But yes, if you commit something to yourself, which you should, number one thing is make time for yourself, then stick to it, just like you would if you were committing something to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that in our kind of pre-interview, you said that you have a lot of energy. Now, I don't. I struggle with energy, and my energy fluctuates a lot, no matter how much sleep I have. And in one of my previous interviews with a lady, Francesca Blechner, we spoke about burnout. And I feel that sometimes, well, a few times over the past few years, I've been in a burnout phase and not necessarily realized. What kind of tips would you give to somebody like myself who has actually committed to going to the gym 2 times a week? Funnily enough, it's like you were speaking to me directly. But sometimes, like this week, I've been low energy and I haven't necessarily done it. How would you recommend like quick energy boosts and short, sharp, snappy things that you can do to kind of raise the adrenaline levels?
Well, I'll say that we all get burnt out on things, even myself. And so when I get burnt out on fitness, here are 3 of the things that I normally do. I still do something. If my schedule says 8 to 9 o'clock and I'm at home or I'm not feeling well or something, I still do something that represents some type of care, health, wellness for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you for instance, I recently had a bout with an illness that had me, hospitalized and then in my room, and I couldn't go out for 9 days. And when I say couldn't go out, I couldn't even, while I was in the hospital, of course, I couldn't work out. I couldn't even do crunches in my bed because I've been in the hospital before for something different. And I'm in the hospital bed doing crunches. You know what I'm saying? The nurses are like, "Oh my God, we have to walk her around with her thing." Again, I've been in those situations too, but this particular sickness, I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when I got home, I would do hot tea and stretches.
Mm-hmm.
So it would still be something. That's the main thing. Do something. If it's crack your knuckles for an hour or meditate for an hour, breathing or whatever the time schedule it is, or the amount of time that you feel able to do it, dedicate to the consistency of doing it is all I'm saying. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing that I would suggest you do for your energy level is change like one thing about your diet. And it doesn't have to be anything drastic. Here's the one thing that I change about my diet. When the winter comes, I know I'm severely anemic, one of the things that was left over after my cancer. And so in the wintertime, it's hard for me to fight off colds and flus and all that stuff because my blood just is thin and it ain't going to do it. Okay, boom, snaggle craggers. It's just not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So what I do in the wintertime is I'll take those vitamin C packets and mm-hmm. I'll commit to taking one every morning. I don't care if it's nasty or not. I'm still committed to doing that because I know my body needs that extra vitamin C between November and March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's another thing. Take and change one thing about your diet. The next thing that I don't do, I know that bread makes me bloated. It really makes everybody bloated, but some people deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. But I love me some bread and I love me some pasta. Oh my God, those are like, But as soon as I look at a pasta, it's like my whole sides just fall over my pants. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I commit to not having but one of those types of carbs a day. And it is a struggle. And sometimes I fail. I had pizza and then I had that Louisiana style pasta with some tofu in it one night. And I came home and ate popcorn. What? However, again, because you're just trying to stay committed and do things in small levels. As entrepreneurs, we try to do too much at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And entrepreneurship is not overnight.
Mm-hmm.
You can have success overnight. You cannot have entrepreneurship overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Success can mean that you could sell $1 million in a year. Entrepreneurship means that I've sold $1 million consistently. Entrepreneurship, it's a dedication, it's a journey to something, to achievement of something, not getting something or making it. And so being consistent and dedicated to doing what you said you would do.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's eating the right thing, eat one right thing. If it's working out, work out the minimum of 2 days a week. Shoot, do you realize that if you work out for 2 days a week, a minimum of 30 minutes, just walking briskly back and forth in your living room, that you could save 4,000 calories a month? You don't even have to sweat.
No, I didn't know that.
It's that serious. It's
Mm-hmm.
that serious for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we're dedicating to the consistency. Our bodies respond to that. That's how we were built. That's how God made us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I definitely will be doing that the next time it's too cold or I'm too tired to go to the gym. Which is most of the time because it's winter. But yeah, no, it's true. And I think
here's a tip for you here's a big tip for you in your living room in the wintertime. Turn your heat up to 80 degrees and walk in your living room while you're watching TV for 20 minutes and turn on your tracker and watch how many calories you burn and how much you sweat. And then turn your heat off. 20 minutes. It's like creating a heat sensation without you having to do a whole lot of impact and kill yourself, warming the body up. So now you're burning fat from the inside and burning the fat cells that are on the outside too. Getting it out, sweating it up, all that.
Yes, no, I'm definitely going to add that to my regimen. So thank you. Moving on to a slightly different topic. You are a mother. How important is it for you to kind of set the entrepreneurial kind of, I suppose it's the map points for you have a daughter, right? For your daughter, do you want her to follow in your steps? And what do you do to kind of encourage that, if anything?
Yes, I do have a daughter. Yes, I try to show her and guide her and give her tools and resources and expose her to experiences that I've had on this entrepreneur journey. The one thing I probably would say to that is that's probably all she's ever known of me, though, simply because I've always been a go-getter. Mm-hmm. Even when I worked for somebody else, I was still entrepreneurial. You know, I wasn't a business owner for a while because of the fear, but I always had the characteristics. So go-getting, very dedicated to it, and all that. And yes, she knew I always wanted to own my own business because when I started my corporation because of my daughter. So the fitness building came, again, 12 years after I had been in the industry. But I had my incorporated business before I even had Fitness Defied. And that was only because, again, my daughter was dancing and she was doing a whole bunch of stuff. So I had to figure out a way to make sure that we were making dollars for all the stuff that she was doing. And we had sponsors to pay for all these costumes with all these competition appearances and all the stuff she had to do. So again, you know, I had the entrepreneur spirit, I guess, or in me the whole time of my life. I just was not applying it in the right way. But yes, my daughter, she did see me. I always instilled in her to make sure that she had her own. Yes. And yes, she is following in my footsteps a little bit. She's a personal trainer and a health coach herself. And she just launched her own brand as well for personal training, fitness, and health wellness coaching. Hey,
You must be very
excited
proud.
about that. Yes. Yes, she's not
No.
full time in it as far as, but she still has her job and all that kind of stuff. But she has aspirations to be a full time entrepreneur, business owner one day as well. Yes.
Yeah. And that's because mommy set the path. Mommy showed what it looks like and that it can be done. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think I had an interview, my last interview, the lady that I interviewed said she was, at the time, she was unemployed. She had a new baby. And I said to her, what kind of propelled you to do it? And she said, if in 10 years, if my daughter asked me why are we in this situation, I don't want to say it's because I didn't try. And I think that's so important because our children really do look to us as kind of the beacon of hope. And if we're going down that kind of entrepreneurial route, then the chances are they're going to look and say, this is something that is amazing and I want to do it, and follow us down that path.
Yeah. When it just also gives them other options to be able to, navigate through. I know people who have who are entrepreneurs and their kids probably will not be entrepreneurs because it ain't for everybody. Excuse my language in that, but for real, it is not for everyone. That's why everyone is not an entrepreneur. There has to be consumers. Otherwise, we're just selling stuff to ourselves or we're servicing for ourselves. However, for those people or those spirits or those that are called into entrepreneurship or can handle it and have all the resources, most definitely, I do believe that they get it and they earn and they learn, or they are bold enough, or they have the experience and the confidence to do it somewhere along the way because they got a glimpse of it or they learned about it. And those that are a lot more successful than others, I also believe, like you just said, that it's because they were around it. They were raised in it. They don't, you know what I'm saying? They just know it. It's who they are. It's a part of their lifestyle. And those are the ones that have success easier than those who have to learn along the way.
So you're a woman of faith. You've made that very clear. How important is your faith in your kind of business pursuits? So an example, one of my clients, I'm a business consultant and I work specifically with service businesses. And one of my clients contacted me earlier, who is a woman of faith, and said that God has called her to make a decision which on a professional level doesn't necessarily make sense. And as a professional and as her consultant and her coach, to me, it doesn't make sense. But she said God has given her the word and she is going to respond accordingly. As a Christian, my thing is, well, if that's what God has said, then this is what you have to do. Have you had many instances of that? And as I said at the beginning, how important is your faith in what you do?
Yes. I have had instances where I wanted to do something and God told me no. I have also had instances where I knew God wanted me to do something and I was like, avoiding it. No. I'm what? Oh my God. You know what I'm saying? And there were also instances that I experienced where I was a friend of someone and they were saying that God told them to do something. And I was telling them, I don't think God told you to do that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm that person too. And I've also been on the end where someone was telling me they don't think God told me that I should do that. My faith is my greatest confidence, boldness. Everything I do is based on my faith in God. Everything. If I'm crying or if I'm flying, if I'm happy or if I'm sad, I try to keep my focus on my faith in God. Now, I'm not always successful, but to answer that first part, yes, my faith is always number one.
Have you had any?
On the second part, is my humanity? Yeah, it gets in the way, but I still end up, I might go through a couple storms or, God may have to beat me on the head through it. I might try to do it my own way, but when it all boils down to it, it boils down to my faith.
Have you had any, like on a question of ethics, have there been any situations where there is an opportunity or there is a customer that you may want to work with, but it doesn't fit with your kind of spiritual values, and how have you dealt with that?
I have learned that just how God tells me no, He's showing me how to say no to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because it says, I want to be Christ-like. That's how I want to be. That's who I strive to be. Christ-like JQ. Okay, God has a form of what He sees me to be, and that's what I'm striving to be. However, I'm not always there. And so, yes, the human side of me does get in the way. But I try my best to work with everybody. But some people, because I'm compromising my faith, which is allowed me to even have the business in the first place, then I have to say no. How I handle that is based on the situation or the person. Sometimes I just outright say no. Other instances, I'm not able. And then there's sometimes, I want to say no. That's the human side. And I know I need to say no. And then I mess up and give a little bit, like maybe. I say the maybe part. And oh, here I go. And again, compromising my faith. Compromising my faith. Because as I'm growing, my faith comes first. And I'm learning to say no. I've been working on saying no for 2 years now. That's been one of my personal development things that with my coach and my mentor, that we are really working on with me. Because again, sometimes I can do so many things at one time. Sometimes I don't say no. And learning to say no, because I'm not going to miss something, JQ. You're not going to miss it if you say no. You're not going to miss this opportunity. I used to be that person who was like, okay, if it came my way, God gave me this opportunity. I cannot miss it. If it came this way, oh my God, I better do it. Otherwise, God's not going to give it to me again. Oh my God, girl, He just came in here and said that if I write His whole program for him in 5 days, that He'll give me $1,000. So JQ, you're going to be in Japan working with these kids that you promised you would go over there for a conference. You know you're not going to be able, but I could probably do it in the hotel. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That learning how to say no, because I think I was going to miss an opportunity or something. So that's been something I've been working on for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important to note that no matter how successful we are, there are always areas of learning and development that we still need to stay committed to, number one. And number two, this no thing is so important. And particularly if you're watching or if you're listening, if you're in the early stages, I find startup entrepreneurs say yes to everything because they think, if I say no to that, then my business is not going to move forward. And actually, one of the key things I share with my clients is not every opportunity is a good opportunity. Not just because
that's right.
somebody promises you something doesn't mean you're going to get the fruits of that promise. And actually, you need to be able to discern between something that is for you and something that is not for you. And I think too often, even as women as well, too often we get excited by the shiny stuff. Like that sounds like a great idea or a great opportunity, but actually the cost to your time, to your well-being can be more than the uncomfortability of just saying no. And sometimes we need to reclaim our voice and say, actually, no, that's not for me. And that also it goes to working with customers. The amount of clients that I've worked with that said, oh, this customer or this client is taking up so much of my time and we were supposed to work for this many hours, but they keep emailing me and they keep calling me. Just say no. And I think more of us need to find that power and have it as a personal development point to learn like you've done, because there's power in those words of no.
Yeah, that's right.
More of us
that's
need
right.
to take that power and take back that control. For sure. So
yeah.
Going to the kind of last section of the interview, even though I don't want to end it. I don't want to keep talking for 5 hours because I don't think anybody wants to watch or listen for that long. But over your journey and looking at all of the varying aspects and all of the different kind of industries and sectors that you've worked in, what has been kind of the greatest lesson that you've learned that you could say kind of applies to everything, if there is one?
The greatest lesson that I probably have learned thus far. Well, I think that keeping God first, always. Um, Remembering why I start anything, keeping that in the forefront, and then taking care of myself. Those are the three things that I learned, that if I can do those three things at least and keep them a priority, then all the other things that I want to do, I'll be able to. I'll have the energy I need. I'll have my creativity I'll need. I'll be networking with the people that I need. But if I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not staying true to, my God, and keeping him first, and then thinking of myself, when I start getting out of balance and all those, then everything else gets out of balance. Not stressing. You know what I'm saying? Let stress go, people.
Yeah. No,
my dad told me, I learned one thing from my dad about challenges, issues, things that agitate you, get to you, any of those things that create negative synergy. My dad used to say, give it up. Can you do anything about it? I'd be like, no. Well, give it up. Go do something that you can do something about. He would say, go do something that you can do something about. Okay. That's simple.
Yeah, it's like the serenity prayer, right? God grant me the wisdom to accept the things that I cannot change and change the things that I cannot accept.
Yes.
And it's true. Great lesson. It's
really that simple for me. I mean, literally learning how to control and change the things that I have control over. The things that we stress over the things that we have no control over. When I got cancer, I learned that was my biggest lesson from cancer. Daniela, the biggest lesson from cancer for me was they couldn't tell me why I got it, how I got it. For the first 3 months, I was so worried about how, when, and why, and how did I get it, and what did I do, and all this, when I could have been putting all of that 6 months of energy and negative energy on top of that into, okay, let me figure out a payment plan. Okay, I need to find a research to get attached to. Okay, if I'm going to die, let me make sure that my will is in check. Okay, wait a minute, I'm not feeling good today. Oh no, I don't think I'm going to wallow in my tears for long. What I decided I was going to do, my daughter helped me do this. She would call me, or when she was around, she would say, well, Mom, what can you do? And we would focus on the things that I could do. And when you do things that you can do, you feel successful, which gives you bravery and courage to do other things, it builds you up to places where you feel like, okay, maybe I can jump to the next step this time instead of build 2 more bricks. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And focusing on the things that you can do. My dad was the bomb. I should have listened to him 40 years ago.
No, it's interesting because would be 7 years this year. I was in the process of going through checks for cancer myself. Luckily, I had a surgery and everything was sorted and fine, but I spent a lot of time just being terrified of the prospect of death. Before I didn't have a specific diagnosis. They were doing the explorations and I was like, I'm going to die. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. What am I going to do? I'm going to die. And it was so difficult for me to focus on what you just said, but I can definitely see the value. And now as I've got older and obviously I didn't materialize into cancer, I got the all clear and everything is fine now. But as you said, I spent a lot of time, I would say a lot of time just in this moment of dread and panic, when actually what I should have been doing is continuing and looking at other things. So for me, it's definitely a work in progress. I have catastrophic thinking and it's something that I'm working on because I always go to the worst case scenario. But then at the same time, I also say I'm a Christian, so I'm supposed to rely on faith. So I'm a contradiction, but I'm a work in progress. And I think we also,
Yes.
yeah, I think we also sometimes have to just accept that we are a work in progress.
Yes. I'm a work in progress. Do what I can.
Yeah, but what you said is it's so valuable, and your dad clearly was the boss. Yeah, no, it's true, and so many more of us need to learn to focus on that. Deal with what you can change, and leave everything
right.
else to one side, because it's negative energy that doesn't really move you further forward.
That's right.
So the last question: 3 pieces of advice that you would give to a woman who has started in entrepreneurship or is in the process of considering it. What 3 pieces of advice would you give?
Focus on financial stability in your business in real time, meaning don't go out of your realm. Take risk, but don't go out of your realm. Okay, financially, really, you can do a lot with a little, because it's not about what you have, it's what you're doing with what you have. Okay, so make real smart money moves with what you have. Don't always focus on making more. Focus on doing more with what you have. That's number 1. Number 2 is stay connected. So stay connected, meaning that you're not always doing the same things with the same people. Staying connected means that you're constantly connecting with others, with difference, with diverse, with things that you're not connected with. Keep a good support connected group. And when I say support as well, remember there's all levels of support. Everybody doesn't have to be your best friend to be supporting you. And all women you should not expect all people to support you in the same way. Okay. And then thirdly, I would recommend for startups, don't forget yourself. Keep yourself in the top 3 of everything you do. All goals you have. If you just set your new goals for the year and you look at the top 3 things, and the top 3 things aren't not something you're doing for yourself, but to yourself, because everything on your list should be about you. But is everything on your list about something you're doing to yourself? Because you got to be doing things to yourself, not just for yourself as well. To yourself means eating right, working out, having physical activity, having social interaction, having balanced relationships, combing your hair, trying something different with your wardrobe, going out, having a love life, connecting with family. Those are things that you do for yourself. To yourself.
Yeah.
They're physicalities.
I'm going to go and check my my goal for the year just to make sure that I've included those things, because I'm not actually sure. I know that working out twice a week was on there, so maybe I'm safe in that regard.
Maybe you're safe, but if not, move them up. Rearrange it immediately and make sure the top 3, at least, even if it's always third. Mine is always third on the list, but
yeah, no, for sure.
Because money is up there.
Money has to. Well, yeah. So that thing about finance. One of the key things I always say to my clients: focus on the finance. If you don't have the finance, everything else is going to fall to pieces. So yeah, definitely.
You can't do anything without money. I don't care. Even if you only have $1, it still requires national treasury at some point in your life, especially if you're calling yourself a business person or entrepreneur, then you need to learn money.
Sure. It has been amazing speaking to you. Please tell everyone what platforms you're on, where they can find you, if they want to follow, if they want to connect.
I am J'Que Ellis. You can find me on all platforms at JQUENOW. That's JQ Now. All platforms you can find me. JQ Now. Google JQ Now. Go to one of them. I'm there.
Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a fantastic conversation, and I really feel motivated now to do my weekly workout and stick to it. So thank you.
Get on my Instagram. I put free workouts on there all the time.
Yes, and I will definitely be participating. So thank you. And thank you guys for listening, for watching, and for engaging with She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories. As usual, if you haven't already done so, click that subscribe button. Make sure you like. And if anything that JQ has shared has resonated with you, please leave us a comment so we can find out your thoughts, your feedback. I think it's been a fantastic interview. And JQ, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Mwah. I love you. And Jesus does too.
Amen. And make sure, if you haven't already done so, that you connect with me on Instagram at She's the Boss INTL. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Daniela Genus. And if you're looking for a business consultant and coach that specializes in strategy and innovation, drop me an email to Daniela at She's the Boss INTL. I will help you to think big, take action, and keep pushing to achieve your goals in 2020. I will catch you again next Sunday at 8 p.m. GMT for another She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur story. Thank you for joining me.